All right, let's do some of the other teams then. Obviously, now the other teams are all eliminated. So if anything, this is for this split sort of our decisive final statement until we see them play again. So we'll just go backwards. So you mentioned it earlier. I do want to ask about SK Gaming because I feel like, mate, this, if I'm going to give props to people like Mad Lions for overperforming, one of the reasons why is because of teams like SK. Like, this is a team where I actually thought, some of it is the early weeks, I will say, sort of teasing me. Mate, this team blue balls me big time because I actually do think they were capable of more. Like, there was times this team looked clean, mate. And I even looked at, like, the way they integrated Isma, the rookie jungler. I will say, you saw he was rookie towards the end. He sort of had some moments where he looked hesitant or he had his big problems. But again, early on, they were making it work. The whole Niski thing, I'm with Monty on this one now. You do have to state, every time you mention Niski, you have to point out that while on the same time he can make the game-winning plays and the amazing, he also will, seemingly in every series, sprinkle in just like a game-losing play. Like, he'll just give you one out of nowhere. The joke in this last series was that mental teleport. Like, that fight actually would have been fire if you ever watch on the map, guys, there's actually a fucking ward just above where Fnatic even is on that fight. And like, if he actually teleported behind them then, they just collapsed. I'm pretty sure they even win that fight. But he did that stupid teleport like 1 meter in front into the minion because he must have just been looking or he's misclicked the mini map or something, you know. Like, that's the problem with this team in general, mate. It's like, I feel like they were too inconsistent. This is like the ultimate example for me of a streaky team because I actually think the irrelevant guy is cracked, mate. I'm just convinced with this guy. I've seen this. Here's another player that I feel like every split I've watched him in LEC, he gets better. But he's got better to the point now, mate, where I actually think he's better than this team. Like, I think it's, I don't know if it's just the whole he's German and SK is a German team angle. He's just comfortable there. He's at home or whatever. But I think this guy should be on a contender, mate. I think he looks fucking amazing. I thought he was a banger in that series. So, like, there are things about this team I really like. Exakick in his own context can be very good. I will say, I think I'm a bit more critical of Exakick because I watch the LPL. Like, I do see some fights where he doesn't do that shit. He doesn't carry it. He doesn't take his lead and do what I want. So, as you can see, there's like these areas where everywhere I'm getting a little something from most. There's only really DOS I'm not a big fan of. Aside from that, like, there's something with all these players and you put them together, there's something there. I even know there's no way they spent a massive budget. This has to be like quite a clever min-max. So there's so much to like about this team, but then the odd problem is I also can't rely on them. They will let me down. Like I say, in a sane world, I thought this should be the team playing Fnatic now in a different bracket, obviously, for fourth place. I think it would be making more sense to me if SK was fourth place than Mad Lions. Where are you at on SK? I feel this is a tricky team to analyse, mate.
I mean, when I last came on the show, I did say that I think they will finish fifth or sixth, right? As they do every
Well, you got
season.
that one. Okay, fair play.
Yeah, and
Call that one.
that's where they ended up again once again, right? It's the history books show that that's where they always end up. So it's not a very radical guess as to where they're going to end up. And but with regards to your statement as to could they be in where Mad Lions is right now, it is a strength of schedule thing, right? How the bracket panel and all the other things. Yes, you can argue is how they finished in the regular season,
Sure.
but they both finished 5-4.
Yep.
Right. So it's really it's a matter of a luck of the draw,
Yes.
right? If they played against Mad Lions opponents, they would have been where Mad Lions
It does
is
seem
now.
like it, doesn't
Yes,
it? Yeah. Yes.
they would have lost to Fnatic as well. But this is why I say that those two teams are basically equivalent in my rankings, right? Like Mad Lions and SK are the same. And I would say that from watching their gameplay and the macro push to the game, I would say they tick the same boxes and they're missing the same check boxes as Mad Lions as well. In terms of their understanding of this map control approach that they are trying to play as well, right? Niski, I think, is very, very known for being a someone who was very inspired by the way that OMB plays, and I think he's trying to translate the style over to what SK is doing. And they also have a star at the top lane, right? Irrelevant has been playing really well. The Jax has been great. The Rumble has been great. I think that those were the two stand-up performances that come to mind. And he's something that the team can comfortably play through as well. But it always comes into the rest of the team. There's all these missing topics that they have in terms of the overall team structure. And when it comes to really having the firepower to power through, if Niski is always going to be playing the supportive style, right? I know he's been playing off Azir to split, but he's if he's going to be playing the supportive role to the team, then Exakick really needs to have his work cut out for him, and he really needs to be able to step up to the plate to really do the damage, right? So that's why I really have them in the same category as Mad Lions, where they have like these one or two bright spots in the team. They have this team structure that gets them about 40% of the way there, but they lack the firepower to really cross the line.
Right. The obvious question I have is this, right? One thing I'm a little bit interested in with this squad is, like I say, when I actually look at how it ended, I do think that, like, I can give the Isma guy a pass. Remember, guys, he was the Movistar Riders jungler, if you don't know. So, like, first of all, I feel bad for him because he's the only person who never was going to get that promotion because fucking El Yoya's sat there. He is Spanish. He's the king of jungle and he's a Spanish player. So you already had no chance there. But then you go and look, man, he's really actually, like, fucking showed his worth in this team. Like, he's been good. And as much as everyone does that thing of, like, it's the Niski effect, like, Niski doesn't actually transform, like, he's not Frankenstein. He doesn't transform dead bodies into good players. You have to be good already. Like, maybe then he can enable you more, make you better. But, like, spoiler, like, El Yoya had Niski. Is El Yoya not banging without him? I'm pretty sure he's great. Did Blabber, did he struggle? No, if you're good, is Niski can enhance it, or maybe he can take you to that next level. Maybe he can show you some map things and how you interact with someone. But at the end of the day, you've got to be good too. So the Isma guy, to me, showed me enough already. I'm like, wow, I'm actually impressed. And obviously, with a player like that, if it's your first split, hey, you know what? You've got 2 more splits, then we got the season fight. You've got time to bounce back, mate. You can have a little bit more of a stable one next split. Next thing you know, the team's like got a consistency from your position. Now the other players can play better. The one I want to ask about is the bot lane, though. Because if you remember last year, if you rewind to that one where SK was on that run with Marcoon last year, everyone was raving about this bot lane because Exakick was having all these crazy score lines and getting loads and loads of kill. What do you make of the bot lane in this team? Because I have to say, this time around, you'll notice I actually sort of highlighted the solo lane as more on the top side of the map. I actually think kind of the identity of the team's changed a bit. Like, for me, the problem with the Exakick guy, like I said, is it's like the skill is clearly there. I can see why people were raving about him, but I also feel like he's a bit incomplete as a player, if you know what I mean. Like I said before, I don't always trust this guy to carry if he has the resources, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to like say where Exekick really ends up, right? I wouldn't say he's like super where it's very clear that this guy can be doing more. But yeah, at the same time, if you were to watch a LPL game and you watch the bagger LPL AD carries and you watch Exekick, right? Or you watch a strong performance or upset and then you watch Exekick, you would look at this guy and you feel that yeah, he definitely could be doing more. And that's where I like him. I don't think it's a very huge flaw with him as a player. I wouldn't say he's a flawed player, but he's not a great player either. And that's where probably where it's one of those situations where it's one of those tough choices, especially given where SK is, right? Is this a player you want to replace? Because then you then risk end up having someone who has a whole other host of issues or whatsoever. Or are you okay with where he is at this point of time? But if you are keeping him, then you need to make sure that the other pieces of the team are able to step up and then be able to more than compensate, right? For the fact that he's not going to be the one to step up and really clutch a team fight in those cases. I think 1 year ago it was probably because of Zeri meta or something, which is why people were so high on him. I don't really recall at this point of time, but I knew that when it came to watching SK and when it came to watching it was DOS as well, right? In the bot lane, DOS and Exekick, they were always there. I never really took notes down when I watched them play, so never. It probably meant that they never really did particularly horrible things, or they did particularly good things either.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.